You're watching The Big Story with me, Avni Raja. Straight on to our big story today. 2 more lives have been lost simply due to ignorance of our civic authorities. This time in Bengaluru, where a scooter-borne couple were rushing their sick granddaughter to a hospital, were crushed to death by a government bus. And this happened when their scooter skidded over a pothole on the middle of Mysore Road flyover, which is in the heart of the city. They swerved in an attempt to avoid the pothole, but were crushed by a bus which was behind them after the driver failed to apply the brakes on time. The couple died on the spot while the child sustained injuries. A case has been registered at Chickpet Police Station. Joining me now is Shrija. Shrija, take us through the details of what really happened and specifically what happened after this incident, because within hours the civic authorities came and filled up the pothole there.
Right, Avni, this is yet another civic apathy. We understand this is a criminal negligence of the BBMP, the civic body of Bengaluru, where we did see a couple identified as 55-year-old Anthony and 53-year-old Sagai Mary were rushing to hospital to take their granddaughter, 8-year-old Shireen. And in fact, they were taking this particular flyover, that is the KR Market flyover, the Mysore Road one. They were heading towards JJ Nagar when the incident is said to have taken place on the intervening night of Monday and Tuesday morning, when in fact they saw a pothole. This is near what we are talking about is the flyover where there is an expansion joint. Right next to the expansion joint, we did find a huge crater, and this particular victim, he tried to avoid the maneuver across the pothole. That is exactly when the incident took place, when a Tamil Nadu government bus speeding rammed and crushed the couple under the bus wheels. But however, the minor girl, in fact, we understand, escaped with the minor injuries. But however, she had to be taken to the hospital as well. But we also give it to understand the couple immediately succumbed to their injuries in the spot itself. Remember, this is just another civic apathy. Every year passes by, we come across more and more death, and every year we understand that more and more money has been sanctioned only to fill the potholes. And clearly we understand an FIR was registered against the bus driver for negligent and rash driving. When we did speak to the mayor, remember, we did reach the spot, we looked at the crater, and that is exactly when the mayor arrived at the spot, got about 2 and 3 workers. They cemented the pothole at that point in time. But when Mirana questioned the mayor about saying isn't this just a stopgap measure, he definitely admitted to that fact, saying this is just a stopgap measure, and we will in the coming days, once we see sunshine, only then we will go ahead and cover up the potholes in the city. Remember, we are talking about there are 14,000 arterial and sub-arterial roads in Bengaluru alone, and remember, we're talking about the potholes. That is just before the incessant rains. The survey numbers, according to the BBMP, indicated to the fact that there are about 5,067 potholes, and after the torrential rains, there are 4,000 more, in fact, resurfaced on the arterial roads of Bengaluru. But clearly, the BBMP haven't really learned their lessons. All that they do every time when there is an incident like this or a death because of a pothole, all that they come out in the open to say is that we are doing our best, we will be sanctioning this amount, we will get workers to do the work. This is all that they have been saying.
Right. All right, Shrija, stay with us. We've also got Mr. Srinivas on the line with us, the local resident from Bengaluru. Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivas, for joining us. Wanted your comments on this entire thing, because every now and then we see civic apathy from the civic authorities, and these kind of potholes, as we just heard my colleague Shrija say, that they've only gone up post the rainfall.
Absolutely. This is not every once in a while. This is an everyday thing. Unfortunately, the worst kind of accident happened last night and we lost lives. But every single day, people are hurt by potholes. And this is a reality of life in Bangalore these days, so much as any other urban city, I suppose. But it's extremely, extremely terrible situation to be in, to be one of the world's fastest growing city and the most dynamic city, and a place where everybody wants to call it their home, and we just can't get the roads right. And every time there is monsoon and rains, within few days the potholes appear, and it's as predictable as the sun coming on the east for us, and it's extremely sad situation.
As a resident, have you attempted to contact the authorities? Have you tried to get them to do something about it? And what has been the response every time you've done that?
When you ask to fix the potholes, you get the fix for the potholes, and we know how that fix works. So these are band-aid solutions. The potholes themselves are potholes. We are working very hard in Bangalore. You might have seen our campaigns to stop the steel flyover and ask for public transport and other things. The citizens are very active in this city, and we have been asking for better civic administration by coming together, by getting people to stand up for our basic civic amenities and all of that. The response is always short-term oriented. Unless and until we get it into the politicians' heads that what we want is something, a systematic change in how the road contracts are done, how every monsoon before that, the drains are not cleared, so the water comes on the roads. It's a very obvious cause and effect of why potholes even occur. The bad quality of road laying coupled with the water stagnant on the roads will cause the potholes. So these are some things that everybody understands for many, many years, and yet every year the same story repeats. So I don't know what else to do other than, the entire city coming out in protest and in an expression of shock and disbelief of losing lives for it. So that's kind of where we are.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivasan, for joining us. In fact, a very important point he was mentioning there, which brings me back to Shrija. Shrija, as far as being penalized for shoddy work, have the contractors who are responsible for the roads in Bengaluru ever been penalized?
Shocking. In fact, Avani, we understand that so far none of the contractors have been penalized by the BBMP themselves. In fact, we also given to understand just a few years ago, that is, there were about 5 contractors who were given the job to look after some of the arterial roads like Malleshwaram, MG Road, including the Central Business District. Now, but what we are given to understand that they did siphon off the money given to them, the tendering process, but the work on ground was completely shoddy. But when an investigation was conducted, we are given to understand that entire investigation was referred to CID, but however the CID had in fact asked the BBMP to blacklist these contractors. But we also given to understand that these contractors, these are the same contractors who moved the court and obtained a stay. But if you really have to look at in the past history, we understand that none of the contractors have really been penalized. Even the BBMP mayor or the commissioner for that matter knows the fact what on ground is. Remember, we are not only talking about the road, what the asphalting of the roads or clearance of potholes. We're talking about siphoning of money. There's a huge corruption involved in this. Remember, just last year, we did see how BBMP brought in a pothole filling machine called the Python. But however, the tendering process given was only for one machine, but the contractors had completely duped the entire bills, claiming that they had in fact deployed about 3 Pythons, which means they had siphoned off 7.5 crores. Now, given to understand the past, we understand recently, just about a month ago, we did see how the BBMP brought in milling machine. This is to in fact level the roads, cover the potholes. Now we need to ask the BBMP, where is that money going? Remember, just for the last couple of weeks, we did see how Bengaluru has been lashed with torrential rains, and just because of that, the BBMP sanctioned an extra 20 crore for the road maintenance. But where is that money all going? We do see only people in fact losing their lives because of the killer potholes.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, also joining me on the phone line is Kartiani, who's an activist. Thank you very much for joining in. Your initial comments on this, the fact that there's been 7,000 crore which has been allocated for this, the fact that BBMP has missed 2 deadlines, and now again the fact that the number of potholes have only increased from 5,067, which was before the monsoons, to 9,000 potholes now.
Are you asking me, Kartiani?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you see, they have been fixing deadlines for fixing the potholes, and what we really saw was that the potholes were being filled just with some pieces of brick and mud, and there was no asphalt, there was no tarring happening because it was all being done during the rains. And one needs to question what they were doing during the summer, during the dry season. And whatever the contractors do or the engineers do, and the accidents are happening, but nobody is being punished. And in fact, the citizens, whoever is victimized by this, should sue the BBMP and ensure that the engineers are held accountable and sent to jail or whatever. And, they should be paid enough compensation so that the compensation should come from the engineer's salary, not from the BBMP. Only then the engineers will wake up. And even the Comptroller and Auditor General has reported how vitiated the whole process of estimating tenders and, estimating the works and issuing tenders is. Actually, the process should be that the people decide what they want done in their areas, and the planning should happen by the people. But actually, the planning is happening by the contractors who decide what they want to do, and then they approach the engineers and they get the orders even before the estimates are made and even before the tenders are actually issued. So they do the work and then the approvals are sought, and then the bills are kept pending.
Right.
And the whole process is wrong. What BBMP should have done was to empower the citizens to be doing the planning by notifying area sabhas. As per the Karnataka Municipal Corporation Act, the voters of every area should be assembling and planning for their ward, but BBMP has not notified the area sabhas at all. So the people have no role in participation in the governance of the area, and so somebody else is doing all the planning for them. And neither the area sabhas are working and nor are the ward committees functional. And it's only when you empower citizens to plan and budget and monitor the works and also social audit the works, you will get an accountable government. But none of this is happening, and that is the reason why such shoddy work is done and people are dying. So if only they would notify the area sabhas and have monthly ward committee meetings, things would be much better, because citizens would know what they want, and citizens would be able to audit whether the work was done in the proper manner or not.
Right.
So the municipal councillors are totally against the ward committees and the setting up of the area sabhas, because they don't want this accountability to come, and they don't want people's participation. And this is a total vitiation of the 74th Constitutional Amendment, which, spoke 25 years ago about bringing in transparency, accountability, and people's participation in urban governance.
Right. In fact, those are the key points that, bringing in accountability, transparency. In fact, let's also listen in to what the BBMP mayor had to say when he spoke to my colleague Shrija. Take a look.
Okay, so we understand now it is the monsoon season and a lot of roads here in the city is going to be riddled with potholes. But as a BBMP mayor, what exactly are the actions that you will be taking now, this being the case?
See, our Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Siddaramaiah ji, for the first time in the history of Bengaluru, has given 7,000 crores for Bengaluru. And all the roads were made well. It was made at the world-class level, the roads were made. But unfortunately, because of nature, the rain has been coming for the last 3 months continuously without even one day relief. We have been seeing this. Because of that, we are unable to do any new roads or keep the present road wherever the potholes are happening. We are not even able to fill. Because even for the last 3 days, the rain has been continuously pouring for 8 to 9 hours. So absolutely the contractors are not willing to come and do. They say if we do the work at this particular stage, tomorrow it will be blamed that this is shoddy work, and because of this, quality work has not been done.
So you mean to say the potholes are reappearing only because of the rains?
Absolutely because of the rain. Because of rain, water logging everywhere, and continuous rain being thing. Because the asphalt, when the major rain comes and when there is a joint being happened over there, that particular place, when the water logs over there, the surface tends to open out.
So this is not the very new case. Every year we have seen deaths, a number of deaths as far as pothole is concerned. Now, just I asked you about the quality. Don't you think that BBMP should have learned their lesson long time ago?
Absolutely, the BBMP or any agency should have the responsibility to do quality work, because it's a taxpayer's money and we are responsible for that. We will see to that. Periodically we'll check more agencies, check on them and see to that quality of work is being done.
All right, on that note, time for a quick break. We'll continue on the other side. Stay tuned. All right, breaking news coming in at this point. Big mirror now impact. The government cuts excise on fuel. Big breaking news coming in at this point. The government has cut excise on fuel, cuts basic excise duty on fuel, on petrol and diesel. The price cut by 2 rupees effective midnight. Those are the latest details coming in at this point. It's a big breaking on mirror now at this point. Big mirror now impact. This is what we have been asking for. Let's go across to our editor Faye D'Souza, who's joining me on the phone line. Faye, this is a big mirror now impact. This is what we've been talking about all along, asking for relief for the common man, asking for excise to be cut on both petrol and diesel.
That's absolutely right, Avni. This is a demand that we've been making now for several months. The fact that diesel this morning hit its all-time high in Delhi and across several states, and diesel, of course, has a direct impact on every commodity that we buy and everything that we use in our households. This has a massive impact on every single household income, and as we have illustrated in the past, that a large chunk of what we pay for diesel and for petrol in this country is actually taxes being charged by the central and the state governments. Remember that fuel is not part of GST, and as a result, we're paying nearly 50 rupees on the price of petrol, which is totaling close to 80 rupees in several of our states, is actually coming out of is taxes. So the real, the price that we are using, the price of petrol in the country is about 30 or 32 rupees. The remaining amount between 80 rupees and 32 rupees is entirely state and central taxes. Central taxes in this case being excise duty, and because of that, because of the excise duty being collected by the central government, the prices are that high. The central government now deciding to cut basic duty, excise duty on petrol and diesel by 2 rupees means that the price of petrol and diesel will come down by about 2 rupees. Will come down by about 2 rupees.
Right. Faye, are you still with us? All right. I think we've lost the connection to Faye. We'll try and reconnect. But at this point, the price cuts will be effective midnight today. All right, Faye is back with us. Faye, the fact that the excise duty has been cut and the price cut is going to be effective midnight, but by 2 rupees, do you believe that even though it's a small step, of course, it's a step in the right direction, but we still have some way to go as far as getting the relief that we actually need for the common people?
Right. So, Avni, obviously this is a step in the right direction. This obviously means that the government is sensitive to the pain of the common Indian. The fact that, at diesel and petrol at its current prices, diesel being at an all-time high, it impacts everything, like I said, that we buy in our house. Everything from milk to food to vegetables comes in on trucks that are powered by diesel. So a diesel price hike will impact every single price in our household. And a cut on excise duty of 2 rupees is something that we are tremendously grateful for, and makes a big difference to the average Indian household. I understand that Gopal Krishna Agarwal of the BJP joins us on the phone line right now. Mr. Agarwal, you've been part of several discussions we've had on Mirror Now on fuel prices and the impact it has on the average Indian. Obviously, this move right now from the government to reduce the price by 2 rupees will be very, very welcome by every single Indian household. So it obviously means that the government is sensitive to the pain of the average Indian.
Yeah, definitely. I told you at many times in your channel that whatever problems come to us from the people of the country or the citizens, they are being looked into, and those suggestions are being implemented. We have seen in the issue of GST also, you had recommended discussions we had on tobacco, that was rectified. Then on various issues, this was a concern which was coming from every quarter, that there is a big component of excise duty on petrol and diesel. and therefore government has taken this decision, and we welcome that. And this shows that this is a proactive government. If there are suggestions which are for the benefit of the country and which the government finds are good, then they will be immediately implemented. There is no policy paralysis. The most proactive government that we have, the issues from the government were if the communication is right, and then if the government finds them useful, they are implemented. But in economic issues, we should understand there are always pros and cons of every decision. So there is some time lag between taking one set of decision, then there is a trade-off between various issues. So this way, the government takes some time, but it is ultimately for the poor of people of the poor citizens of the country, backward classes, that is at the heart of the Prime Minister. We welcome this decision.
Mr. Agarwal, my other question to you is, obviously, if we look at the breakup right now, we understand that the actual petrol costs about 32 rupees per litre. We're paying close to 80, in some cases a little above that. A cut of 2 rupees is most welcome, but it's still a wide margin from what we ought to be paying for the fuel. Does this mean that BJP-run states will also follow that, or the central government might be looking at further excise cuts going forward?
At the time, the petroleum minister had come out with a press release in which he had clearly, categorically mentioned that 42% of the revenue which the government earns from the petroleum product is being shared to the state government. So therefore, and we have also said that various state governments have different charges on the excise and other thing on the petroleum product. So that also needs rationalization. Then they should also look into the issues of cutting down the government revenue on this particular thing. And ultimately, the solution will be to bring petroleum product under GST. That is the long-term solution that the government looks towards. And I hope that, as the minister has said, finance minister has said, that more and more things will come under the GST. First thing is that petroleum should be as far as it is possible, the government will try to bring it into under the GST so that it is streamlined across states, and at the same time there is a cap to what the government taxation can be levied on petroleum products, because it has some inflationary tendency, but with the international prices of petroleum at a low, it is giving a good revenue to the government so that it can reduce other taxes, it can trade off between other revenues, and government has money sufficiently to tap the fiscal deficit, at the same time give more
Well, Mr. Agarwal, we know that even if petrol comes under GST, as you've said, is the final aim of the finance ministry, GST has several slabs. Let's assume it has the highest slab under GST. But in certain cases, we know that in cases, for example, for cigarettes and other, commodities that the government considers sinful, there are special slabs that are put in even after GST. Is it likely that petrol under GST will have those slabs as well?
But the maximum rate under GST is 28%. The other thing that the government can levy is cess. But that cess has a sunset clause that it can be levied only for a period of 5 years. So maximum, over a period of time, maximum tax under GST which a government can put in any commodity is 28%, and that too for sin commodities. So I don't think the petroleum product can come under the sin non-luxury items. I think it comes under the essential commodities. So one thing is that the cap of 28%, then there is a cap of on which cess can be put over a period of 5 years alone, and that cess has to be shared 50-50 with the state government if it is not utilized.
All right, Mr. Agarwal, many thanks. Yes, many thanks for joining us, and many thanks for being part of so many discussions that we've had on the channel and being such an active part of carrying the message forward. A quick wrap to our viewers, Avni, like we heard Mr. Agarwal say, it's a 2 rupee cut in excise duty, basic excise duty on petrol and diesel, which means starting tomorrow morning, petrol and diesel will be cheaper by 2 rupees. But like we've kept saying, the actual price of petrol is 32 rupees in this country. We're paying 80 rupees in some cases about 75. While a 2 rupee cut is very welcome, we would expect states to also cut the VAT that they're charging on petrol and diesel, and the central excise duty to be brought down even further. And under GST, ideally, it should be no more than the 28% slab. We're currently paying far more than 100%, sometimes close to 150% in taxes on both petrol and diesel. So while the cut of 2 rupees is welcome, we're expecting that it will be a lot more in order to really provide relief for the average Indian citizen. Avni?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Faye, for that perspective. We'll, of course, continue tracking that right here on Mirror Now. But time now for a quick break. That's it for this edition on The Big Story.